evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
We've gone through COVID, we've gone through 2.5 years of not being able to get vacations, time off. The membership and the staff are burnt right out.
I feel terrible about it. I think it's one of the most deplorable things that a Canadian would like to wave around.
To see the vibrancy in the terminal and people with their bags and going to see loved ones, to do business, to travel, to see Canada and to see the world. It's an exciting day, certainly for YQG.
Thanks for joining us. They are some of the hardest hit workers of the pandemic, staff in long-term care. And today in Chatham, dozens of them took their frustrations and grievances to the streets. The 300-plus workers are in a drawn-out contract negotiation. The union representing them says they are at an impasse with management of a Chatham long-term care home. And as CBC's Jacob Barker reports, the main point of contention is vacation time.
The workers here at Riverview Gardens have been taking turns participating in this action, which has been going on for a better part of the afternoon. That's because they're keeping their shifts covered inside the long-term care home. And if you do read some of the signs here, they do read on strike, but below that is written if we could. That's because of the fact that they are healthcare workers and that prohibits them from legally striking. This protest comes about 4 months after bargaining with management to reach a new collective agreement. While wages, benefits, and other such matters are on the table, their main message is that they have gone through 2 years of COVID and getting any sort of time off has been extremely difficult. I spoke with one worker who has been working here for 17 years and asked for just 1 weekend off this summer. That was denied. What were your plans for your vacation time, for your 2 days off?
Anything, just to get out of there, It's hard to work under those conditions. They're calling you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and then you can't even look for time off the job.
Granger is also involved in bargaining with management. She called their offer garbage.
Talks are finished. We're at an impasse. They didn't put enough on the table for us to even take it back to the members, so we're done. So we're hoping that this will help apply pressure to get a fair agreement.
They're also taking issue with a third party, which is being brought in to fill positions as needed and have higher pay. They say while that is allowed by the collective agreement, they would like to see the home bring on new hires.
These individuals work for the municipality of Chatham-Kent. It's a municipal-owned home. So how can you pay somebody else to come in and do the exact same job, more money, than the people that already work for you? It's wrong.
Well, we did reach out to the Director of Senior Services with the municipality of Chatham-Kent today. She says that while they are in negotiations with Unifor, they will not be discussing the matter. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Chatham.
A Confederate flag flying at a home in Wheatley is stirring up controversy. Those in the Black community call it hateful and disrespectful. And the man who saw the contentious flag from a public trail wants it removed. But that's not so easy. The CBC's Jason Vio joins me now live in studio with more. Jason, what have you learned about the reasoning behind why this family is flying this flag to begin with?
Well, for them, they say it's a symbol of rebellion and war, and that's what they told me during our brief conversation after I knocked on the front door. Now, the flag can be seen from the road in the backyard. It's attached to a pole directly under the Canadian flag. A woman who identified herself as the homeowner didn't want to be a part of a formal interview, but says the flag has been up there for 24 years, and she says she hasn't received any complaints over that time. I did mention that many people view it as a hateful symbol, and she did acknowledge that, but she says they're not hateful people, and it's all about how you perceive the flag. Now, the Confederate flag has a complicated history. It was flown during the U.S. Civil War by some southern states, notoriously by General Robert E. Lee's army that fought to preserve slavery.
So, Jason, it's been flying at that home for more than 2 decades. So tell us about the concerns being raised now.
Well, Jeremy Hatt says he was walking along the Grant Bowman Trail in Wheatley when he saw that Confederate flag. It's a public walkway right near the home. He remembers feeling a bit unsettled seeing that flag flapping in the wind.
I think there are certain symbols that are just unacceptable. There is so much history attached to that flag and history in slavery. So I just felt that it was flying a hateful symbol in the neighborhood, and there's an intimidation to that and kind of what it represents. My perspective is from a white perspective, and I can really only imagine what it would feel like to see a hateful symbol like the Confederate flag flying in your community if you were a Black person.
Jason, how are people in the Black community reacting to this?
Well, they tell me it's hurtful and hateful. That's coming from two people on the Black Council of Windsor, Essex. One of them is Lana Talbot. She says there's no place for the Confederate flag in our society. Talbot says the family's rationale doesn't make it any more acceptable, and to her, there's only one way to interpret that flag.
When I think of that Confederate flag, I believe it's nothing but pure hatred, especially against Black people, people of African descent that live in Canada. That's what that's all about. I think it's one of the most deplorable things that a Canadian would like to wave around. We're in the 21st century, and we're still doing hateful things and hurtful things to people that have come here.
And Talbot says in the end she would like to see that flag removed.
And Jason, is that possible?
Well, Jeremy Hatt certainly wanted something done, which is why he reached out to his local MP after seeing it. He says a staffer told him to call police, which he did. Now, Chatham-Kent Police told CBC News if they did receive a complaint, they would go to the home and explain how the flag is affecting the community. The hope is, they say, the homeowner would understand and take it down, but police have no authority to remove it as it's not illegal. Chatham-Kent's mayor also says there's not much he can do. He sent us a statement. He says Ontario municipalities lack jurisdiction to prohibit the display of the Confederate flag. My personal opinion, and I believe I can speak for the majority of Chatham-Kent residents, is that symbols of hate and oppression have no place in our community. Now, the federal NDP did introduce a bill to ban hateful symbols, which include the Confederate flag, but that has not passed in the House of Commons. In Lana Talbot's words, she says politicians need to wake up and smell the coffee because from where she stands, they aren't doing much of anything to address racism.
Thanks for this, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio reporting live in studio tonight. A new low-cost carrier had its first flights in and out of Windsor today. Flair Airlines unloaded passengers arriving from Montreal. It offers one-way tickets between the two cities starting at under $30. There was some concern that Flair would be grounded because a lack of Canadians on the company's board, but that issue has been resolved. And today, the focus was on cost and convenience.
Oh, we're thrilled to be here in Windsor. We've got Montreal starting today, Halifax tomorrow, Tucson starting in December. We're very thrilled to be bringing our low fares to Windsor, $29 each way to Montreal and Halifax. We think the reception has been very positive.
Absolutely. Seeing the terminal busy, I mean, I had months where there was nothing and we were dark, in the apex of COVID. And to see the vibrancy in the terminal and people with their bags and going to see loved ones, to do business, to travel, to see Canada and to see the world, it's an exciting day, certainly for YQG.
I love it. I find it's so expensive to travel domestically within Canada so often. So it's really, really awesome that we're able to see different parts of our country for an affordable price.
Excited. This is cool. It's different. I didn't expect it to be like a cost like this, and that's why we kind of just jumped on the deal.
I'm very excited. It's been an easy process, and I always like flying out of Windsor because it's quick anyway, but I like this flight's going to be awesome because you don't have to connect in Toronto, so it'll be a quicker flight.
The OPP has seized more than $61 million worth of illegal cannabis in Kingsville. The illegal pot was found at 2 greenhouses and 2 associated residences. In total, police seized more than 45,000 illegal cannabis plants and 8 tons of processed illegal cannabis. No one has been charged at this time. The OPP says its investigation is ongoing. A well-known name in local educational circles plans to make a run in municipal politics. Alicia Higginson is a trustee and public school board chair. She's running to represent Ward 1 for the town of Tecumseh. And that council seat was recently vacated by Andrew Dowie, who was elected last month to the provincial legislature. Higginson says she wants to build partnerships and listen to new ideas. A former contender to lead the Conservative Party of Canada says he will fight his disqualification. Patrick Brown was booted from the race earlier this week over allegations he broke campaign financing rules. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
Patrick Brown has hired a team of high-profile lawyers to fight his disqualification. Sources say there are allegations that a private company was paying some members of his campaign staff. In a letter sent to the Conservative Party, Brown's lawyers say he wasn't involved in any misconduct. They call the decision to remove him from the race politically motivated and preordained.
It's clear the party establishment was nervous that we were going to beat Pierre Poilievre.
Brown says his leadership rival, Pierre Poilievre, is behind his disqualification, a claim Poilievre denies, and Brown has yet to back up with evidence. The Conservative Party won't provide more details on the allegations against Brown, but say the complaint came from within his own camp.
We had serious information, serious allegations that dealt with violating the Canada Elections Act, and Mr. Brown's campaign was provided ample opportunity to respond.
Brown says the party establishment didn't like his progressive views. He says he signed up 150,000 new members, many from diverse communities. Former Conservative candidate Simon Musarat says some of those new Conservatives are now disenchanted.
Without the Patrick's vision, which is a bigger, inclusive, multicultural, everybody from every ethnic group is welcomed in this party, we cannot win the general election.
As for who will win to lead the Conservative Party, it's unclear whether Brown's supporters will cast a ballot for another progressive candidate or decide not to vote at all.
If Patrick Brown is to be believed, is that they joined up because they believed in him. So if he's gone, they may not go anywhere. Where they may go is on having their buttocks sit on their hands. And that's not necessarily a good thing for the Conservative Party or candidates other than Pierre Poilievre.
The Conservative Party's president says Brown supporters still belong within the party. He's urging them to vote for one of the other 5 candidates when they choose a new leader this September. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Turning now to international news, Boris Johnson has resigned as leader of Britain's Conservative Party, but says he'll remain as Prime Minister until a successor is chosen.
As we've seen at Westminster, the herd instinct is powerful. When the herd moves, it moves. And my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable. To you, the British public, I know that there will be many people who are relieved and perhaps quite a few who will also be disappointed. And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
Cabinet members and MPs revolted after yet another scandal, this one involving Johnson's handling of an MP accused of sexual misconduct. And it comes after a damning report into parties at his Downing Street residence that broke COVID-19 lockdown rules. Beijing is imposing mainland China's first ever vaccine mandate in an attempt to curb the spread of the highly transmissible Omicron subvariant. Starting Monday, people have to provide proof of vaccination if they want to enter public places like cinemas, gyms, and libraries. Patrick Falk has the details.
Well, the move makes Beijing the first city in China to mandate vaccines, and it means that people that haven't been vaccinated by now better go and do so before Monday, because after that, people that haven't been inoculated or people that haven't got a medical exemption won't be able to go into a raft of public spaces, including gyms and theatres and all sorts of entertainment venues. But if you're asking what sort of impact this will have, well, that's very hard to say, because nationwide, China has relatively high vaccination rates, more than 90%. It's even higher than that in Beijing. It's among the elderly population where there's a bit of a lag. Around 80% of people above the age of 60 have been vaccinated in Beijing. But you have to wonder why exactly authorities have ordered this, because as we know, whether it's Chinese vaccines or Western vaccines, there is limited efficacy against some of these latest subvariants and strains, and doesn't really necessarily do an awful lot to keep China in line with its zero COVID policy. What we do know is that the vaccines do help reduce the risk of severe COVID-19 or death. So one might read into this that China is possibly preparing for a real flare-up, knowing that we've got this new subvariant that is spreading in China now.
Patrick Falk, CBC News, Beijing.
There was a dramatic moment on a highway near Toronto yesterday, and it was all captured on video. Police say a 36-year-old man experiencing some sort of medical episode was trapped in his burning car. 5 passersby ran towards the danger, and they were able to smash the driver's side window. Police say the man inside was unresponsive, and the passersby were able to get him out. And just moments later, that car burst into flames. Just an incredible story there. A live look outside. Another hot day today with temperatures going down to 17 degrees overnight. We do have a chance of showers tomorrow. We're going to take a closer look at your weather right after the break. Stay with us. If you like this hot, humid weather, you're going to like this 5-day forecast. Let's take a look at the temperatures. Today, we had a high of 28 degrees, but anyone who stepped outside will know that it definitely felt a lot hotter than that. With the humidex, it was more like 34 degrees. Tomorrow, slightly cooler temperatures, if we can use that word, with a high of 26 and a 30% chance of showers. Then, luckily, we've got 2 straight days of sunny days and clear nights for your weekend. Then we've got a hot Monday with a high of 29 degrees and a mix of sun and clouds. And that is your 5-day weather forecast. Now, you don't have to have a patch of ground to have a gorgeous garden. What you really need is a little bit of outdoor space, a little imagination, and the willingness to experiment. Balcony gardener Justin Keats has more on what to consider for elevated greenery.
If you're first starting off, one of my first tips would be the bigger, the better. So the larger your pots, the more water they're going to retain. If you are balcony gardening, even if you're not facing south, I would suggest that you're going to be watering every day in some capacity. Water just dries out quicker. Certainly you want to be using container soil, so that's just going to have a greater mix of perlite and humus and other water retaining elements within the soil. For some plants that are a little bit more hardy, for instance like ferns, hostas, stuff like that, I sometimes add a little bit more of traditional earth in there as well, because they do tend to like, I find, a little bit of a heavier soil. For the sun, I find things like geraniums, gasnias, virtually anything that says it's going to do okay in full or half sun is going to work fine on your balcony. It's a lot easier to garden for the sun than it is in the shade. So for shade, I find a lot of good plants are hostas, impatiens, ferns, bleeding heart, astilbe, and coleus. Touch base with your condo association or your rental landlord. There's issues potentially based on what you're putting up or how they are anchored to the balcony. So it's just a matter of asking before you act. So over the winter, the main thing you want to do is trim them down, cover them, and place them in a space where they're still receiving as much sunlight as possible. That's helping the roots of the dormant plant just have a little bit more increase in temperature. Once you got the basics, I find it's about making that space your own. It's no different than having a backyard. And I also feel it's something that you can work with what you got. My balcony has a lot of metal railings and beams that allow me to hang things easily versus another balcony may not. It's a process. It's something that we learn over time. It's a skill set. Plants die, that's cycle life, but you're trying to learn to help things grow in the future, which is better for the environment anyways.
And when we come back, a Minions craze that you won't want to miss. Stay with us. Welcome back. A federal judge in Minneapolis has sentenced former police officer Derek Chauvin to 21 years in prison on civil rights charges. Chauvin is already serving a 22.5-year state sentence for the murder of George Floyd. The incident in May 2020 sparked Black Lives Matter protests across the U.S. and around the world. Last December, Chauvin pleaded guilty to violating Floyd's civil rights when he kneeled on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. The federal sentence will run concurrently, and Chauvin will be moved to a federal prison. American actor James Caan has died. Caan was best known for his legendary turn as mafia figure Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, and he appeared in a number of other well-regarded films in the 1970s and was an Oscar, Golden Globe, and Emmy nominee. Caan developed a whole new audience in recent years as the angry and befuddled father to Will Ferrell in the movie Elf. James Caan was 82. And if you've been to a movie theater lately, there is a good chance you've seen a small army of young people dressed in suits. They call themselves Gentle Minions. Here's Lisa Shing on a new craze propelled by TikTok.
It may not be surprising to see scores of teenagers at the movies, but seeing them in suits, being extra polite, and sometimes carrying bananas, that's new.
It made us laugh so much. It was such a nice experience.
Behold the latest TikTok craze. This video, posted by Rashid Tabara, shows him and a group of friends, like so many others, decked out and heading out for a screening of Minions: The Rise of Gru.
We've all loved the Minions as kids. And when we saw this movie releasing, it started becoming like a big trend. So I feel like that kind of like forced us to be like, we should do it.
These self-described gentle minions are hitting theaters all over the world, mostly teenage boys, mostly well-mannered, as an homage to Minions from the long-running Despicable Me film franchise. Innocent fun, sure, but not without a little controversy. Some theaters in the UK say loud, rowdy teens have forced them to shut down screenings, even turn away anyone showing up in a jacket and tie.
Even though this Gentle Minions trend has been a bit of a concern in some countries, Canadian theaters say they're embracing the enthusiasm.
What we saw this past week and continue to see, it's been pretty special, pretty unique.
Distinguished villains, my name is Gru!
And after COVID caused a 20-year low in ticket sales, the crowds are welcome.
There's nothing more exciting and more fun to watch than packed auditoriums.
This pop culture critic says the appeal is simple.
When there's an opportunity to do something that is an experience, then that's interesting to people, and especially I think young people, and a chance to feel like you're part of something bigger.
Dressed up or not, seeing young people out and having fun again isn't just welcome, it's good for business. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Fancy brochures and slick videos for new housing developments and condos are nothing new, but a Swiss startup firm is marketing something that's a little more unusual, with a hefty price tag as well.
Oppidum creates underground living spaces that are highly secure and completely discreet, yet beautifully appointed and entirely bespoke.
This is a promotional video for luxury underground bunkers, and the video suggests occupants will be able to relax in comfort no matter what threat is above ground, and they cost $10 million. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.